everyone, back again, and I'm going to show you a beautiful card I'm going to make with this awesome background, which is going to be a shaker card with these sequins from Picket Fence Studios that are actual watermelons. I have this awesome watermelon stamp and die set that I'm going to be using as well for my card. Here I'm grabbing some watercolor paper, and first I'm going to start out by stamping. So I'm just going to start by stamping my fruit images onto the watercolor paper. I'm grabbing some Midnight ink here. And I'm using the Misty to get that perfect precision stamp. And I'm using watercolor paper so that I can use my colored inks to actually watercolor onto these images. So I'm starting with It's a Girl, Garden Party, Wintergreen, Deck the Halls, and Samba. These are the same inks I used for the background, so it's going to coordinate really well and look really pretty together. So before I put my stamping tool away, I'm just going to stamp out the word melon here. And I want to use this scrap piece of paper that I did stamp It's a Girl onto, and I'm going to emboss this. So I'm going to grab my tool here. This is used to kind of like clean your paper off of any oils to get a really nice clear look when you emboss so that the powder doesn't spread. So I'm grabbing my Versamark here and just stamping onto the stamp itself, and then I'm going to press this down onto my Misty. And if you've never embossed before, it goes on clear like this, so you can kind of see the word melon there. And then I have some black, really pretty sparkly powder here, but I also have white. But I decided to use the black, and look at the sparkles in that. I really like that. I wanted to see how this turns out. So I'm just going to pour the powder on there, pour it off, and then you can always put the powder on if it misses a spot or anything of that nature. And there are a little bit of spots on there, so I'm just going to use a small fine paintbrush here. This is a great tip before you apply your heat tool to get rid of that excess powder. So now I'm going to apply my heat tool here and just go over the powder until it turns into a sparkly gloss. And you can kind of see there, it's like nice and shiny now. That looks awesome. So this stamp set also came with this coordinating die, which is so perfect. I love this because I can cut out the word perfectly here. And so I'm just going to put that on there, and I am going to add a little bit of washi tape just so that my die doesn't move too much when I put it through my Sizzix machine here. So I'm just going to carefully push this through my Sizzix machine, and then I'm going to take this off, and then we can see how this looks with the pink and the black. That looks awesome. I like that. That turned out really cute. So I have this one here, and then earlier I did do the white embossing powder on this green paper. So they both are two different looks, look really cool. So now, since I have my die cutting machine out, I'm going to start with the base of my shaker card. So I'm going to cut a circle just as much in the middle as I can of my card here. And this is just my card base. So this is like the front of my card that I'm going to end up applying onto my actual like folded card. So this is the top part. That looks good. So it's a perfect little circle. I think I cut it a little far down there, but it's fine. You're not going to be able to notice once it's all put together. And so now I'm going to grab my acetate. So I have these acetate sheets from Cherry on top, and I'm just going to trim this down. And I trimmed it down to a square. It doesn't need to be an exact circle or anything. And now I'm using some cherry tape here, and I'm just going to apply the cherry tape around the back side of my circle here, and making sure that it doesn't, gets to the acetate so it doesn't overlap or anything like that, the tape. So just peeling that off and then making sure my acetate's in the right spot, and that looks good. So the acetate is just a clear sheet that you can use. So now I'm just kind of trying to see if I like the green or the pink. I think I like the green actually. And so I'm going to start by coloring in my seeds here, just black with a black marker. And here I'm going to start to do my watercoloring. So I decided to start with the green. I'm just going to start with green first. I have Deck the Halls, Garden Party, and Wintergreen here. And I'm just applying this to a plastic bag. And then I spray with my spray bottle. And here you'll see I'm just painting. It's very simple. I love this technique with your inks. You get a different color for sure. You can end up applying more water to get lighter or darker shades. I just love the versatility with this. It's also very calming and relaxing. I love doing watercoloring. I just find it kind of peaceful, and then I don't know, it's just a really fun, unique way to use your inks. So here I'm just coloring in all my watermelon, all the green parts, and trying to do the different shades. I'm not really worried about going on those outside lines because I do have the die cuts. So they're kind of going to cut off where, I paint over the stamped image, which is great. So it's kind of nice because it kind of like hides any mistakes that you make. So now I have Samba and It's a Girl, and I'm going to do the same thing but with the inside of the watermelon and create the perfect pink red watermelon shade. So that looks good to me. If you've never done this with your inks before, I highly recommend it. You don't need any special tools or anything. You just need a little bit of water, some watercolor paper, and a paintbrush. And so these look awesome, and it dries super quick too because of the watercolor paper. So that's always really nice. So now I'm going to take my die cuts and I'm just going to line them up on my sheet, and then I'm going to run them through my Sizzix Big Shot machine. So if you haven't seen, I have a great video on how to use the Sizzix Big Shot machine. It's such a fun tool, and there's really so much you can do with it. So I have all my watermelons here cut out. I'm just placing them around my card to see where I might want to put them, along with these cute little seeds and then the leaves. I really love this. I love watermelons in general, so I knew I wanted to buy the stamp set, the sequins, the stencil, and they're all from different companies. So I really wanted to show that you can create a beautiful coordinating card with all kinds of different products from different companies. So I'm just going to put a cherry dot on this watermelon. I know for sure I want to use that. I love that watermelon, the Half Moon one. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back here because I don't want to get any glue on the acetate, like any excess glue onto the clear sheet, because you don't want it to show up. So just applying my glue lightly onto the back of my melon, and I like it here at the bottom. That looks really pretty, and you can see the green pops against that clear. So I'm just going to also glue down these seeds here right with a little bit of glue right at the bottom left hand corner where the M is, and just deciding where I want to put my leaves and whatnot also. So I wanted to create a circled sentiment here, but I had to do it myself. So I'm going to use this awesome stamp that says "You're one in a," and I'm going to try to curve it onto this arc here. So I'm just using 2 of my die circles and just cutting out this half circle here just to create kind of a sentiment that'll go around part of the circle. So I'm going to use my Misty, and I'm just going to put my sticky mat down so that I can apply this stamp where I want it. So it's going to go on straight first. So you just put it right down on your paper, and then just go ahead and bring the platform down. And then from here on the actual plastic part, you can move the stamp around a little bit. So you can just kind of morph it to where you want. And I'm just going to move it around a little bit. It took me a couple tries here to get it exactly where I wanted it. But this is the best part about the Misty, is that you can line it up exactly the way you want it and kind of move it around to make sure it's in the right spot. So that looks good. I'm just going to use some black ink here and put that on there. That looks awesome. I like this a lot. Okay, so that looks good, and it looks nice and clear, and I'm gonna keep this on the sticky mat here, and I'm gonna use my It's a Girl to ink blend the background, so it adds a little bit of pink, a little bit of color, a little contrast to the green, and also coordinates with our watermelon theme. So this is looking really good. You can see the difference here between the ink blending and the watercoloring with this color. It's just great. So I know I want to cut these edges off, but I didn't want to do it myself. So here I'm placing my circle die just right on the edge there, so you can see how it's going to cut out just that sentiment, and it's going to be a perfect cut. This is what I love about the die cutting machine. This was not a sentiment strip that we had. This is one that we were able to create. Look at that. So now I can put that in the left-hand corner here of my card and coordinate with the year one in a melon. How cute is that? So now I'm just kind of looking around. I know I want to put that half moon watermelon on the bottom somewhere. I like these leaves. I like that leaf there. I might put this other one at the top here with the year one in it. So for now, I'm just going to put these on some little round foam dots and put this on the base of my card. So I'm going to put the watermelon down in the corner there. It looks good. And for my sentiment here, I'm also going to put this up on a little bit of foam just to add a little bit of dimension. Typically with shaker cards, they do already have that lift, so you don't want to add too much dimension. But the foam tape that I'm using isn't super thick, which I love. So that way it's not going to be, super thick or too bulky. So I'm just going through here and adding some more 3D pop dots onto my leaves so I can put this right next to my sentiment. Looks good there. And I think that adds a perfect look for the front of my card. I'm so excited. So now I'm going to use this beautiful olive green paper I have. And this is an A2 sized card. So here's the base here. You can put it in the corner of your scoreboard if you have one and just fold it in half and there's a perfect fold. Nice. So now is the fun part. So you want to grab your foam tape. So I'm using cherry foam tape and it's 1/4 of an inch in width, but you'll see that the thickness of it is what I really like about it. It's not too thick. And what's great about this is that if you did want it thicker, you could just layer it on top of each other. So here I'm just doing a baseline around my circle here. It doesn't have to be an exact circle. And all I'm doing with my foam tape is just making sure it's going around and touching every edge. So what I just mean by that is that there's going to be no holes by the time we're done. So just making sure the corners are all good here and cutting that to size. Looks good because this is where these sequins will be. They'll be inside of there shaking around, so we don't want any holes between any of the foam tape so that, obviously none of the sequins come out of the card. So just keeping on trimming down to size here and just doing each strip. Looks good. And then this part is the most important. You just want to make sure it's all enclosed just like that. And I have these awesome adhesive scissors that cut through the foam tape really simply. So that looks awesome. I'm excited. So now's the fun part. I'm going to peel off my foam tape. Not just yet though. I'm going to grab my sequins first. These are so cute. They're actual watermelons. And I'm going to make sure my card base is nice and flat, and I'm just going to put the sequins on my card base. And it is kind of, a science. You don't want to add too much, but of course you want there to be enough to shake around in there. But you want to make sure you flatten it out in one layer so that they don't get stuck onto the acetate and then can't move around. That looks really good. So now I'm just going to peel the backing off my foam tape here. All right, and then I'm going to carefully place this in the center as best I can of my card base. And that's how you do it. It looks awesome. So let's shake it. Ooh, that looks awesome. So check out this watermelon themed shaker card. There's the year one in a melon, and I have that awesome stenciled background. You could use the other watermelons that we colored and stamped out for the inside of your card, but that's it. That's how you make a shaker card. Thanks for watching, guys.